to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.
Hello and welcome to the MMA Fan Show. I'm Stu Whiffin. Joining me always is Mr. Blake Harrison. How are you?
Very good, mate. Very good. How are you?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. So this week's episode, I think we had a pretty okay card at the weekend, but it felt like today's chat was going to be, is there enough action from the weekend to warrant a full episode? And then last week there was a lot of big fight announcements, and there's been another big announcement with a two-time former guest of the show. So we've actually got a really good show for you today. So there's plenty to talk about. But before we get onto that, we should shout out Fat Candy, who are the sponsors of the MMA Fan Show. Head over to their website, go give them a follow on TikTok and Instagram, and get yourself some freeze-dried sweeties and use the discount code. What's that discount code, Blake Harrison?
Sweet MMA. That's SWEET MMA.
There you go. Save yourself some shekels over there. Get yourself some sweetie treats, and why not munch on them? And when you're and let it soundtrack your audio pleasure of the MMA Fan Show. Where are we going to start? Bobby Knuckles and RDR?
I think so, mate. I think so. Abu Dhabi this weekend. A rare fight card that started at a prime time for a European audience. How did you watch it?
I watched a little bit in the sort of like late afternoon, but I had a rare Saturday night off. And as much as I'd love to have said to my wife, C's on, I'm going to stand and watch that, it weren't going to happen. So yeah, we went out for some food, and I got up nice and early Sunday morning and watched it. You?
Well, do you know what? A similar sort of, I did get to watch it. So my wife went out for the evening with some mates, and
on paper, this sounds brilliant already.
It already sounds good, right? But I've got the kids, obviously,
right?
And it was my brother's birthday, but he was working until late, and he was like, "I don't really want to do much. I'm going to be shattered after work, so I'll come over." I said, "I'll come over mine. We'll grab a pizza, and we'll watch the fights." Brilliant. Obviously, he comes over, we're eating Domino's. It's a bit like, whoa, I don't want to make the kids have to just watch the UFC. So while some of the prelims are on, we're watching like some cartoons and some other things. And then I'm obviously getting them ready for bed and all of that. We eventually do get to watch most of the main card. My brother, having had a full day at work, God bless him, and then just ate, I don't know, so much bread and cheese just from the pizza that he just passed out. He was snoring next to me from
literally fell into an actual food coma.
Oh, mate, he was snoring. And so I was there on my own, sort of watching it for a bit. But I'm like, that's okay. I don't mind. That's fine. But then I get a text from my wife being like, "Oh, can you pick me up from the station?" And obviously, because my brother's there, I'm like,
hell.
So basically, I got to watch most of the main card fine. And then I left with like a minute to go of Yan versus McGee. And then I was at the train station. There was a bit of a slight miscommunication between me and her, because she was like, "Oh, I'll message you when I get to the station." I'm like, "All right, cool." The next message that comes through says, "On my way." So I'm like, right, I better get down there quick. It's about a 15-minute drive, 10-minute drive, whatever. So drove down to the station, got there, and when I park up, I'm like, have you left yet then? I actually sent her a message before I left saying, "Sorry, are you on the train then?" And I thought, well, I got no response, so I've got to go. She might be on the train. Get there, and it turns out when she said "on my way," she meant I'm walking to the train station now. So I was just sat outside the train station for ages, but I was able to watch rounds 1 and 2 on my phone of the Ridder v Whitaker. Then when I got home, I rewound it a couple of rounds to then watch 3, 4, and 5. But it was not the best way to watch it. And it's just so funny to me how it's
I hope you've ignored her ever since to this moment now.
Yeah, that bitch.
So selfish.
So selfish. But it's just so funny that we moan about the cards when they're on late, like early hours of the morning, and we're like, oh, we can't watch that. We've got to wake up and get it in the morning. No spoilers. Like, we've got our WhatsApp group, haven't we, with like Pip and Brian Lacey, and we all know now we don't say anything for like almost like 2 days before anyone is brave enough to go.
Period.
Yeah, so what do you think? Because we have to have that, make sure that no one's going to get anything spoilt for them. And yet, when it's at European time, just the lives of like a man with 2 kind of relatively young children, and you're a man like, you know, you're married, you work most Saturdays. The one Saturday you've got off, you can't say to your wife, "Oh, well, I'm just sat in watching UFC," because, you know, you're like a nice, good husband. And it's just like, we can never win. No. We can never win. It doesn't matter what time these cards are on. We can never watch them properly. And
if we both left our wives and bought a little flat together.
Oh,
brilliant. We could just
keep talking with him.
You could get the pizza. I'd be getting the telly sorted. We could just sit there, eat pizza, watch UFC. No one would be phoning us up to pick us up. I wouldn't have to go for dinner with my wife. It could be brilliant. Have a little snuggle and everything. It'd be lovely.
Oh, I'd love that with him. I'd love that. Get some little treats. Get some fat candy there.
Exactly.
Just munching on some fat candy.
Us in our matching fat candy underpants, just sitting there on the sofa watching UFC.
Well, I don't know if we'll be able to bring this up on the show, but if you're listening to this and you can relate to what we're talking about being MMA fans, UFC fans, and just never, ever being able to watch the cards properly, regardless of what time it's on, even when it's prime time, you can't watch it properly. Send us a little message about either how you relate to it or like any funny experiences you've had where you're like, oh, this is the one. I get to just watch it normally, and then life just gets in the way. Send us a little message. Maybe we'll read a few of them out next week or something like that. That could be fun. But we've blathered on about that now. Let's talk about the fight itself. Rob Whitaker, RDR.
Did you agree with the result?
I had no problem with the result. Watching it live, and again, watching it in the slightly odd way that I did, meant that I did lean towards Whitaker.
Okay.
But I had I felt like it was a close fight. I had no problem with RDR getting the result. I felt like, was it round 3 that was just chaos where Whitaker nearly finished him early on?
Yeah.
And it was the story of the fight a lot of the time for me seems to be those knees to the body. The Ridder's knees to the body just look, and he looks so much bigger.
Yeah.
Doesn't he? This is a guy that we know won 2 titles in one championship, both at middleweight and at light heavyweight. And he does look like a really big middleweight. I mean, Whitaker is someone that has previously fought at welterweight, but he looked massive. He looked absolutely massive, the Ridder. So, yeah, and he's looking really good. Looking really, really good. Awkward. He's got a bit of the Dricus Duplessis about him, doesn't he? Where it's like, there's moments, particularly in the striking, where I'm like...
Looks a little wild.
Looks wild, looks weird and awkward. Looks like he's a bit sluggish at times, but it seems to work. And that knee to the body, he hit Bo Nickel with it, and he hit Rob Whitaker with it a bunch of times. And I think you can see moments in the fight where he hit Whitaker with that knee, and you could just almost, like it's a computer game, the power bar just went down loads. And then went down again when he got hit again. And that's the gas tank just depleting every time he hit him with that knee to the body. What did you think of the fight overall?
Just
and did you score it for the Ridder?
Dricus depleting out of my head now. Like, next when he fights, that is now going to be stuck in my head. That power bar, and it's like Dricus depleting. I pretty much echo what you said, to be honest, Blake. It was like I wanted Bobby Knuckles to win because he's great. But I'm not mad at kind of some fresh blood getting into the division and shaking it up a little bit. And I thought he'd done enough to win it. Then when I see
the Ridder or Whitaker?
RDR, yeah, I thought he deserved to win. And there was lots of stuff, like a lot of people really unhappy at the result. And yeah, it wasn't the result I wanted, but I do think the right man won. And it throws him right in the mix now.
Well, that I suppose is the next question. Is he next? Has he done enough? Now, for me, I'm not sure that he's done enough to leapfrog the winner of Imavov versus Carl Borralho. I think they are on longer UFC win streaks, if I'm not mistaken. I might double check that now before I have people moaning at me. But I think that what's going to be really integral is the manner in which that fight plays out. If Nasruddin Imavov, who is, he's on a 4-fight win streak, so only one more, but he's fought Roman Dolidze, Jared Cannonier, Brendan Allen, Israel Adesanya, and got wins. That's a lot more impressive to me than Gerald Meerschaert, Bo Nickel, Kevin Holland, and now Rob Whitaker. I mean, Rob Whitaker's a great win, but I just think Imavov's looks better. And then Carl Borralho is on, is he on a 7-fight win streak, Borralho? And that was, I can't pronounce the first guy's name, but Armen Petrosyan after that, Makhmed Muradov, Mikhail Oleksiejczuk, Abus Magomedov, Paul Craig, Jared Cannonier. And then the Brendan Allen thing is a grappling one. So again, I think Imavov maybe has the more impressive resume out of those 3 guys. So if Imavov finishes Carl Borralho, or if Carl Borralho finishes Imavov, I think that puts them above Reinier de Ridder. But if it's like a scrappy, split decision victory for whoever wins, maybe more needs to be done. I just don't know. And maybe it's going to be really dependent on what happens between Dricus and Khamzat, because as much as I don't think it's the right fight to make, we've seen crazier things than the UFC going, Khamzat and Paulo Costa, why not? Like, I don't think it's right. It shouldn't happen, but I wouldn't be totally shocked if that happened. And then you've got people like Fluffy Hernandez, who, if Reinier de Ridder does not fight for the belt next, Fluffy Hernandez is fighting Roman Dolidze next. He's on a long win streak and looking really, really good. Maybe you could pair those two together. Maybe you do Paulo Costa versus Reinier de Ridder. I think that'd be a great fight.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that.
That could be really fun. And then you see what happens with Borralho versus Imavov. You give Reinier de Ridder Paulo Costa. That to me makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, I don't think he's done enough yet to leapfrog the winner of Imavov Borralho, but he's definitely in the mix. And you never know if the UFC are like, right, we want the belt defended on this date, and the winner of Imavov Borralho is like, I'm a bit injured, or I can't make that date, whatever it is. Reinier de Ridder's probably the next guy phoned up.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
he's very much in the mix now, RDR. So we'll have to see how that goes. The other side of the coin is Robert Whitaker. Good account of himself. By no means, smashed about. He was it's a split decision that a lot of people scored for him. But he also lost that last fight to Khamzat, where he just got his teeth absolutely broken out of his face. Where do you go with Robert Whitaker now? Is this it? 34 years old. Will he ever get to a title shot again? It looks more and more unlikely, doesn't it?
I think it's unlikely he gets a title shot now.
Yeah.
I think, the people that he'd have to beat to get it, he's fought a lot of them. And I think there's more exciting fights that are happening that are going to just keep pushing him further down the queue. I think there's, he's got nothing left to prove. Ultimate Fighter winner, former champ. He's done everything. One of the most likable fellas in the organisation. And maybe there's some fun fights left for him. He's not I've not read anywhere that he's done. He's, sounds like he's got every intention of carrying on. I mean, like I say, as you said, like he gave a really good account of himself. A lot of people thought he won the fight. So,
yep.
Let's not start binning him off. But I do think that kind of title contention, I think them days may be behind him now.
Well, I mean, I suppose the problem is, what are the fun fights? Because when I look at it, I think I'd love to see him fight Sean Strickland, because he hasn't fought Sean Strickland. But Sean Strickland, I don't know how long he's going to be suspended for, but if you're not aware, Sean Strickland ran into the cage of, was it Tough Enough or something like that? Like a kind of regional promotion in the United States. He was cornering a fighter who lost. And the other guy, who apparently Sean was mouthing off to during the fight or something like that, gave him the old DX crotch chop, sorry, and was giving it back to him. Strickland came in the cage and just threw a couple of punches at him.
Wasn't Buckley doing it as well? No, Chris Curtis.
Chris Curtis is mates with Sean Strickland. They trained together. They clearly trained with this other guy. He came in. He didn't throw strikes, though, as far as I'm aware. Sean Strickland came in, threw a couple of lame punches, and then Chris Curtis got in a little bit involved as well in an aggressive manner, but I don't think he threw any shots at him or anything like that.
So Sean Strickland, because, I mean, to go in a cage is the work of a fucking idiot. And he always strikes me as a really smart guy, Sean Strickland. I'm really surprised at that.
Yeah, it's, I don't know how long he's going to be suspended for.
And he should be suspended as well. He's fucking disgraceful. And he is disgraceful. He's done enough stuff that he's got away with, that has come out of his mouth. And sooner or later, people do need to be pulled on their conduct and their behaviour. And that was a absolutely fantastic decision to pull him away for a bit. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've got the rankings in front of me. That is the fight. But I do think if Strickland comes back, I don't think Bobby Knuckles is going to be on his radar. I think he's still probably thinking, I'm in the mix here, and he's not.
Well, he's lost twice to Dricus. If Dricus stays the champ, then I don't think he's getting a title shot anytime soon, and it's a big name, Bobby Knuckles. I mean, there's the Israel Adesanya fight, but I think they're mates comes now.
Back, I think Izzy wants that Strickland fight, doesn't he?
I do sort of want to see Izzy v Strickland again. If Izzy could fight Whitaker, but they seem to be friends now, and I don't know how much I want to see that fight. I'm quite happy to never see that fight again. Not just because Whitaker lost both of those fights, but also it's quite nice seeing them as mates now. I don't really want to see them fight each other again. So there's not many fights that I look at and I go, oh, that's a really fun fight for Robert Whitaker, that one. And I don't think he will do this. I don't think he's interested in it. But I do think, could you see him at welterweight? He's not a big middleweight. And he was dwarfed by Renier Derrida. There's more fun fights for him down at welterweight, I think. I'd love to see, and it could be that he comes up, but I'd love to see Robert Whitaker versus Kamaru Usman. That kind of thing. They're both older guys. They've both been champions. I'd like to see that as a fun fight.
That's a really good show, that is, mate.
But Usman, having just beaten Buckley, is probably thinking, I'm one away from a title shot now, so he's not going to step up. So it would have to be Rob coming down, and I don't know. Rob's in maybe a tricky spot. I don't know really what's next for him, but he's definitely in a tricky spot. Another guy potentially in a tricky spot is Petr Yan. To me, he really sort of outclassed Marcus McGee, but that's I'm not trying to be down on Marcus McGee because
we should give Marcus McGee props here because this was a massive step up, and he looked good, but Petr Yan looked ridiculously good.
Yeah, it was one of those fights where I go, oh, Marcus McGee's really good, but there's levels.
Yeah.
And Yan is that kind of elite level, and Marcus McGee is just a very, very, very good fighter. And I'd like to see Marcus McGee get other top 10 fights, and I'm sure he would do well in those top 10 fights, but Yan's just a different beast. So what do you do next with Yan? Because, I mean, you could redo the O'Malley fight, which I would like to see.
I think that's the best fight for both of them. It's a massive name for Petr Yan.
Yep.
It's a winnable fight for O'Malley as well, whereas I think O'Malley needs to stay away from them grapplers. And I think, we saw some fantastic striking from Yan. And I think we know that O'Malley's got superb striking as well. I think we could have a really, really fun second little look at that. And I'm down with that. That's the fight for me. Now that Corey's got the shot, I'm happy with that. I think that'd be really good. Do you think O'Malley would want that?
I think that could work. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think if you're Yan, though, I think you've done enough to fight for the belt again. But he's in a tricky spot. if Corey Sandhagen beats Merab, and we'll get onto that because that was a fight that was announced. We'll get onto that later on. But if Corey Sandhagen were to beat Merab, I don't, by the Blake metric of, should you get an immediate title like rematch, Merab hasn't done enough. As much as he's cleared out a lot of that division, as much as he is seen now as arguably the greatest bantamweight of all time, I still think maybe it's Dominic Cruz. But as much as he has all those accolades, for me, 3 title defenses is what you need to get an immediate rematch. And he's only got 2 title defenses against Umar and Sean O'Malley. So if Corey Sandhagen beats Merab, I think Petr Yan could walk straight into a title shot and fight Corey Sandhagen. I just have very little interest in Petr Yan versus Merab Dvalishvili because Merab didn't get a one-punch knockout. He didn't submit him early. He 50-45'd him in an absolutely dominant fight that Yan had absolutely just, there was nothing he could do. He did absolutely nothing. It wasn't a close fight in any stretch of imagination. He 50-45'd him across the board. So I have zero appetite for Yan versus Merab too. Maybe that's unfair because Yan does still look so good. But because I've seen that fight and because it was so dominant, I just have no interest in it. Whereas, obviously, Sandhagen Yan would be great. That was a really close fight that Yan won previously, but it was very close. I don't know. So I think Yan's in a tricky spot. Maybe he has to wait to see what the result is of the fight between Merab and Sandhagen.
There's been no mention of anything from Nurmagomedov, has there? There's no fight.
No. That would be a great fight, though. Umar versus Yan would be great.
Right, because he seems to be sitting there ranked number 2, and nobody seems to. Well, obviously, I don't think many people probably fancy that fight. But
you're right.
He's sitting there, and I think that's a potential fight. But I do think Petr Yan now will wait and see what happens with Corey and Merab, and but like you say, if he loses Merab, I think gets the immediate rematch. I do.
Do you reckon he gets even though he's only got 2 title defenses? You think he gets an immediate rematch? He's becoming a bit of a star now. I mean, I use star loosely there.
He's a bigger star than Corey Sandhagen. Former guest of the show, Corey Sandhagen.
Yes, he is a bigger star than Corey Sandhagen. He's the biggest star in bantamweight at the moment. No, he's not. Sean O'Malley's probably a bigger star, isn't he? Merab's right up there though with 2 wins over him. But anyway, point is, you're right. He could get an immediate rematch, but I don't know that the UFC want him to be their champion. So maybe he doesn't get an immediate rematch. Maybe Yan v Sandhagen is a more interesting fight. I don't know. But
do you think the UFC wants some American belt title holders? Do you think like they want Corey?
I don't know that they're overly bothered about it, but I mean it could help. Especially again, we're looking at a situation where the UFC very shortly will be locking up a new TV rights deal. Maybe an American champion would help, but I don't know that Corey is the kind of guy to. No. He's not flashy, although he's great on the socials at the moment. I love the character he does with the big eyes and the big wide mouth, and I really love that. You got no chance beat Merab. Yeah, no chance beat Merab. Love that guy. You're delusional. I think, I'm a big fan of Sandhagen, always have been.
Yeah.
But
Sandhagen Sugar, that's the fight for me. I think there's a really good fight there, and I'd love to see that.
I mean, I think Sandhagen, as we've seen, Sandhagen Yan was a great fight. He lost it, but it was great. Sandhagen Umar was a really close and interesting fight. He lost. Sandhagen versus TJ Dillashaw. I think Sandhagen won that fight, but the judges gave it to TJ. He's always involved in decent fights. If he's fighting a high-level guy, it's always a really good fight. It may not be like what the Americans call a barn burner. It's not like 2 guys slugging it out. But it's not that. But it's elite level and it's captivating and it's interesting. And I love Sandhagen. Any other stuff you want to talk about? I think Shara Bullet beat Marc-Andre Barrio. really great fight, like back and forth.
I thought he looked fantastic. I thought his striking was superb. Some really dynamic.
Shara.
Yeah, I thought some really wild striking, lots of spinning, attacks and question mark kicks, and yeah, I enjoyed it. Like I think he's never in boring fights. And,
no, I think he had a really good dance partner for him.
Mm-hmm.
I think Marc-Andre Barriault is not a great wrestler or anything. So as much as he tried a couple of times, and he still did get him down a couple of times, he was there to mainly strike with him. There was that fantastic moment where Shara was all over Marc-Andre Barriault, and then Marc-Andre Barriault landed a right hand that pushed Shara's nose across the other side of his face. It was brutal. The nose just completely changed shape. But I just think I'm looking at Shara Bullet having close fights with people like Marc-Andre Barriault. And yes, he has a fun fight style and he's a great striker. I don't rate him highly. I don't think he's more than like a top 10 guy at most, maybe.
Look, if he's on the bill, he's going to be in a fun fight.
Yes.
And not everybody's the best in the world. And I think some people are there and they put on super exciting fights, never get a stab at the championship. And I think they've all got their place. And if his place is third on the bill and it's a super fun fight, then I think he's great for that.
Yeah, I'd like him to see strikers that either he can kind of style on a little bit and get a flashy knockout, or someone that's just going to be really fun to fight, like a Michel Pereira, or if Kevin Holland wants to step up to middleweight again, something like that is what I kind of want to see for Shara Bullet. I don't expect him to be a title challenger at any point in his career or anything like that.
Yeah,
and we got to shout out Davey Grant. Rolling back the years, Davey Grant looked absolutely fantastic. Lost that first round to a really good fighter in Damon Blackshear, and
that second round and looked great though.
Just boxing him up, really, just great stuff, really great stuff. Looked good. He's such a lovable guy, David Grant. Big smile on his face. We've had him on the show. Lovely, lovely human being. And he's got a really fun fight style. Like, he is someone that brings it every single time. Swinging. Every time, ripping the body, ripping the head, big wide hooks.
Yeah.
It was
meant
great,
a lot,
man.
this one. Like, I see the footage of him walking out the octagon and back in, and he was shouting. He was like, I think he felt he really needed that one. And it's great. Like you say, he never stops smiling, and he's just an all right, all round top lad. And so congratulations, Davey.
From one Brit to another.
Yes, Big Tom. Big Tom, or do you want to start?
No. I wanted to start with the other fight that was announced on Saturday, but wasn't. Obviously, he didn't fight, but it was an announcement. Lerone Murphy is getting a shot at Aaron Pico. Aaron Pico was set to fight Movsar Evloev, I think, on the card on Saturday. Evloev injured, can't fight. So Lerone Murphy's come in, and that fight is now pushed to, is it August 16th or something? The Hamzat versus Dricus card, UFC 319. Lerone Murphy and Aaron Pico are the co-main event. What a huge moment for Lerone Murphy. Huge for Aaron Pico as well. But as we've seen Lerone Murphy just kind of, head down, pulls his socks up, just goes to work all the time, grinds out results. He got was his first main event against Edson Barbosa. Then he got Josh Emmett, and now he's got a co-main event on a pay-per-view. Those other two were fight nights. This is a pay-per-view event, and he is the co-main event. This is a huge spot for Lerone Murphy. He's never been in a spot as big as this. Aaron Pico as well, coming in to his UFC debut. We've seen PFL fighters and Bellator fighters come over to the UFC and not do great in their debuts, but there's a lot of buzz around Aaron Pico. A lot of people for many, many years now, if you are not aware, have been saying he's the next big thing. Had a bit of an up and down time in Bellator at moments, but he's young and he's, looked good lately. I think he's going to be predominantly trying to wrestle Lerone Murphy. I mean, he's an all-round fighter, as Lerone Murphy is, but I think Pico will be leaning way more into his wrestling in this fight. But he's had, I think, a year and a half basically out of the cage. His last fight in the PFL was in February of 2024, I believe. So that is a long time ago. But Lerone's taking this on like 3 weeks' notice. So which one's worse, taking it on short notice or having had a full camp to fight Movsar, but then find out you can't fight, but you haven't fought for a year and a half? It's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out. Obviously, we're desperate to see Lerone win this fight. What did you think about it? What do you think of it for Lerone?
First thing coming into my head, he's not fighting Arnold Allen, which made me happy. But I think, I mean, sooner or later, he's going to be fighting in the upper echelons of the top 10. And I know Pico's not in there yet, but like you say, he's come into the organisation with a lot of hype behind him. So he's a big name. And to get placed as co-main on that event, it's huge exposure for Lerone. Now, look, I'm taking nothing away from Lerone. He comes under a lot of criticism because he doesn't get epic finishes, and he's not got the most explosive of highlight reels, but that doesn't mean he doesn't keep winning, and that's what's important. He keeps winning and he keeps winning, and he looks comfortable doing it, and I think a nice big high profile win over someone like Aaron Pico, I think it's great for him, and I think he'll do it. I think his technical striking is absolutely like flawless. I think it's a really big moment for Lerone, and I think that guy's dealt with more worrying things than taking a fight on 3 weeks' notice. That guy's life is just insane moment after insane moment, and he's not going to sweat this. And I think he wins.
Yeah, I really hope so. I mean, you have to say that the Movsar Evloev versus Pico fight was unofficially, I think, but was very much seen as a number one contender fight because Movsar's already done enough to fight for the belt. So it was seen sort of as a number one contender fight. So what does that make this? Is this a number one contender fight? Or is this hold your horses, Lerone's just fighting Pico and we'll see what happens type thing? Like, with a win here, Lerone obviously throws his name in the mix, but do you reckon he could get a title shot off this win?
Well, it depends. Like, where's that going to put him in the rankings? Like, because, like, I'm presuming Pico's unranked currently.
Yeah, he would be unranked. Yeah.
So, is it not going to? Where's Lerone? Is he like 8th or 9th?
I'll find out now while you're talking.
And is that necessarily going to push him?
He's 6th. Lerone is 6th.
Okay. So who's above him?
Well, again, a lot of people that have fought and lost to Volk, who's current champ. I mean, Evloev's ranked for 1, as he should be. You could just give the fight to Evloev against Volk. I mean, it does make sense. Evloev has done enough. However, pulling out of this fight probably won't put him in the UFC's best graces. Number 2 is Diego Lopez. He's just lost to Volk. Number 3 is Yair Rodriguez. He's previously lost to Volk. 4 is Arnold Allen, who, as much as we love Arnold, he's just inactive because of the injuries. He needs to get back in there and get some fights. But, and we love Arnold, but we want to see what happens there. Brian Ortega has lost to Volk. And then there's Lerone, and behind Lerone is Aljamain Sterling, who I think might be coming off a loss. Josh Emmett, who's lost to Lerone.
Gene Silva ranked
10th, and he's fighting someone. Gene Silva is fighting Is he fighting Diego Lopez in September? That's a big fight. If Gene Silva knocks out Diego Lopez, he might just go straight into a title shot.
Yeah.
So there is potential movement there, depending on what happens. But Gene Silva's one to watch. And Lerone Murphy with a win over Pico, he probably won't move up the rankings, but I wouldn't be mad at them going, if Lerone beats Pico, we could stick him above Brian Ortega and above Arnold Allen because then they're not as active. So stick Lerone in like 4th or 3rd and then see from there. I don't know, but the rankings don't always end up like that, do they? It's usually just you take the spot of the person you beat or you defend your position.
That's kind of why I mentioned it, yeah. But fun fight.
And a big moment for Lerone. So we wish him all the best.
Tom Aspinall, Cyril Gane.
He's got a fight booked. He's finally got it booked. But I can tell from the look on your face that you are not overly happy. Why are you not happy?
They're going to make it up to Tom Aspinall. They're going to make it up to him by giving him Cyril Gane.
Well, they might have made it up to him by putting that fight. Is this one in I think this might be in Abu Dhabi or something like that in October. Oh. You're not paying any tax out there. So all the money he's lost. If he'd have fought in New York, he would have got taxed to high heaven. So maybe he's got a lot of money coming his way that's not going to be taxable because of where that fight will be taking place in October. So maybe they're making it up to him that way. But yeah, are you disappointed then? Because what were the other options?
Pereira. I know we spoke about that. Pereira's
well, he's got a fight booked now.
We'll get to that. And I know, but we was talking that Pereira's walking around. He's a big boy at the moment, and so I think we was all hoping that there was, even though he's not got that strap, but to go up and potentially fight to become a 3-weight champion would be bigger, 10 times bigger than him fighting Cyril Gane. Cyril Gane seems like a nice enough guy. He's not the most dynamic of personalities. He's not somebody that sets the world on fire in press conferences, nor is Tom. And so I know he's got a fight, and I don't know. I think who's Almeida's fighting Volkov, isn't he? And
I think so.
And I mean Volkov's looking great since he's lost to Tom. I think Almeida's in it, but Volkov versus Tom. Anyone want to see that? No, not really. We've seen it.
And technically, he is coming off the loss to Gane. A controversial loss, but a loss nonetheless.
Absolutely. Do you know what? I think what might have been a more fun fight, I know it's ridiculous, but after a few weeks ago, Derek Lewis, I think that would have been.
Absolutely, for sure.
Crazy. I think fight fans would have just gone, fucking yes, let's do it.
Yeah.
Like Tom
I think that would have been
Lewis.
really fun. I mean, look, meritocratically, does Derek Lewis deserve a title shot? No. But we're just in a spot right now where it's like, because John Jones has gone, Tom doesn't have great opponents lined up. Now, that's not to say that Cyril Gane's going to be a walkover for Tom. Gane's probably learned a lot from his loss to John Jones. You would have thought he'd have been on the wrestling mats a lot since then. I still think Tom would be favoured to win. But yeah, you can still do the Gane fight down the line, whereas Derek Lewis is getting old, man. And whilst he's on like a 2 or 3 fight win streak, just give him Derek Lewis. We know it doesn't make sense, but none of it's great because Tom's already beat a lot of the top 10 and none of them are really sticking their head above the parapet to go, I'm the next guy. So yeah, but I suppose to legitimise Tom as the champ since Jones left, maybe Gane is the best shout. Because he's seen maybe as the next best heavyweight around after Tom. So, and it's a fight that Tom hasn't beat Gane yet. So,
look, we all knew deep down that ultimately that was going to be the fight. I think none of us would particularly wanted to get overly excited about it, but I think we all knew, well, it's probably going to be Cyril Gane, isn't it? And so when that announcement got made, I was like, oh, and look, to see Tom fight would be fantastic. And wouldn't it be good if there was a bit more than a round? And maybe, he does try and wrestle him, and Cyril's wrestling's improved, and we see a few rounds of it, and we see what's Tom got in them latter rounds if he does get pulled into the trenches, because we haven't really seen it in recent times, and that's no dig at Tom. He's done what he's needed to do in spectacular fashion in every fight. But I think we'd all like to see him, seeing how he deals with it when things get, dragged into the latter rounds. But I'm not necessarily sure Cyril Gane's that guy.
No, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, if it plays out on the feet, Gane always has a chance. He's not. I mean, anyone at heavyweight does have knockout power, but he's not known like Tom is, or a Pavlovich or an Ngannou or anyone like that to be the guy that just takes you out one shot. It's usually an accumulative thing, and he wins fights by decisions.
Derek
Lewis is that guy. But Cyril Gane usually is not. He's usually someone that breaks you down over time. I can't see him doing that to Tom, but if this all plays out on the feet, it may be. But I don't think so. And I think Tom's too smart to play that game for too long. I think, you've got to test Gane's takedown defense early. You've got to do it early. And because the other thing is, and I hate to put this on Tom, but you know what the John Jones lovers and maybe John Jones himself is going to be coming out with is like, well, John Jones beat him in like 2 minutes. Tom Aspinall took a whole round or 2 rounds or 3 rounds. So that just vindicates John for saying that he wasn't that good. It's like, that's not how it should work. But it's just an argument that people will be able to have. So in a weird way, you sort of want Tom to go in there and take him out in the first 60 seconds just to shut those people up. But if he goes in reckless, maybe he pays the price because Cyril Gane is a good striker and he can maybe pick a shot. So, yeah, I don't know. I think Tom will be a big favourite.
Yeah.
And rightfully so, I think. But with that comes pressure. Tom seems like the guy that can handle the pressure. He's champ now. He was chasing John for a long time. It didn't work out. He's now the champion. And this is the first fight he will have had in well over a year. How does that all work out? Hopefully it works out well for him because there's a lot of pressure on his shoulders, I think, to be the person that a lot of us think he can be.
Absolutely.
Shall we move on to Ankalaev versus Alex Pereira 2? Obviously, we've mentioned that Petr Yan versus Tom was a fight we were really interested in and maybe could still happen. But do you think for the light heavyweight belt, this is the right fight?
I can't see the outcome being any different.
I think, if anything, it could be worse for Pereira.
I think Ankalaev, if my memory serves me right, that struck him.
Yeah, he did.
And we just thought he was going to just ragdoll him, and he didn't. He stood and traded and got even more confident. So he's going to go in there now, not just thinking I can wrestle this geezer, but he's now going to be thinking, I can knock him out. I've got really, confidence in my hands now against who's arguably one of the most exciting strikers in MMA. So I also think that Pereira's done enough and probably done enough favours for the UFC that they wanted to give him another crack at the belt. And so I'm not mad at it, but who do you think should be fighting Ankalaev?
Well, that's the thing. I think they are in a bit of a tricky spot because no one really jumps out. Like, I know that Yuri beat...
I think...
He beat Jamal, didn't he?
Yeah.
Beat Jamal Hill. I don't know if he had a fight after that. I can't remember. But then Khalil Roundtree's just beaten Jamal Hill as well. And obviously the UFC have booked those two to fight each other on the undercard of this fight, the Ankalaev Pereira 2 fight. So the featured bout on that will be Yuri Prochazka versus Khalil Roundtree, which is a fantastic fight I'm really excited about. But I can't think of anyone that I'd go, oh, you really deserve it. Because Yuri's been up and down. Carlos Ulberg hasn't done enough. Khalil's been a little bit up and down because obviously him and Yuri, they both lost to Pereira. So no one's really jumping. So I do think maybe this is the right thing. And the other thing is, if Alex Pereira wins, he can immediately just step up in weight and fight Tom or vacate or whatever. And that gives Tom someone more exciting to fight. And if he loses, he can also just go, well, I tried. Go straight up to heavyweight, fight a Derek Lewis, fight a Volkov, fight someone like that. And with one win, he gets a title shot just exactly as he did with middleweight.
Right.
Go on.
If Gane beats Tom Aspinall, like Pereira beats Ankalaev anyway, he's going to go straight up and fight Cyril Gane because the UFC ain't going to want Cyril Gane as a champ because he's not got anything exciting about him and he's a kickboxer. It could be it could be one of the best chances Pereira's got of winning that strap. So that could happen if the circles all turning that way. I don't think they will. But just it got announced yesterday that Yuri is the backup fighter for Ankalaev Pereira. So,
well, that makes sense. I mean, he's on the card anyway, because as we said, he's fighting Khalil, which I think is fantastic matchmaking. It's that is a really great fight. And
that could be a war, couldn't it?
It could be fantastic, man. Yuri versus Khalil Roundtree should be great. I think maybe I'd slightly favour Yuri, but I mean, could go either way. Both guys hit hard, have got great striking styles, slightly different styles. You know, Khalil's got that more kind of strong Muay Thai type style, whereas Yuri is just bouncing in and out, a bit more chaotic. Yuri's wide stance immediately makes me think Khalil's going to smash that leg to pieces. But we've seen Yuri be in situations like that before and still land big shots. So I don't know, man. I'm probably looking forward to that fight more than Ankalaev Pereira too.
Yeah.
Like I'm really looking forward to it. I think that is going to be an absolute banger, that fight. And it makes sense because if anything goes wrong, you've got Yuri there to step up. You could also use Khalil, I guess, as well.
Isn't it strange that Ankalaev, Paul Craig aside, right, has never really fallen short, and has gone in against the most exciting one of the most exciting strikers in the UFC, and outstruck him, and yet no one's interested or talks about him. And like he's the champ, and he didn't just go and do the boring, predictable, I'm just going to wrestle this striker, I'm going to stand and I'm going to outstrike him. Yet people still aren't bothered.
It's unfair, isn't it? It's unfair. And I do think Ankalaev has a reputation of being very boring. And I actually don't think he's as boring as people say. I mean, when you look through his fights, he's got a lot of finishes. There was a couple of fights where he was boring. But Thiago Santos really rings a bell for me of that being like a really boring fight that he had, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was Thiago Santos. And it was like, oh, that was a shame. But overall, he's actually got a lot of decent finishes and all that. It's just, there's something about him that's just not captivating the casual audience. But if he beats Pereira a second time, especially if he were to like knock him out or something like that, I mean, we could be seeing the start of an Ankalaev run that goes for years. You don't know. Because I've been saying almost since the inception of this podcast, you know, for the last 4 years or whatever, I've been saying I think Ankalaev is probably the best light heavyweight on the planet. And because of his style and the fact that UFC aren't overly keen on him, it took years and years and years for that to actually become true. But now we're looking at a situation where you're like, okay, Ankalaev versus Yuri, Khalil Roundtree, Carlos Ulberg, Jan Blachowicz. Like, I don't think any of them are favourites against him. So I do think we could potentially be looking at a very long run here for Ankalaev. However, maybe Pereira is the biggest threat to him because it was a close fight, their first fight. And we know Pereira has that one touch of death knockout power that can just clip anyone. So maybe this could be Ankalaev's toughest test. And if he gets past it, what's stopping him? It's a bit like with Merab. Merab, we felt like his toughest test was Umar Nurmagomedov. Once he got past that test, you were looking at it and going, I don't really know if anyone else really tests him that much. We could be looking at a really long run for Merab. Maybe Ankalaev is the same. But speaking of Merab, the co-main event to the card that is, I believe it's UFC 320, which is Poatan Ankalaev 2. The co-main event to that is actually Merab Dvalishvili versus Corey Sandhagen. Was that the right fight to make?
Like I said, I want to see Corey fight Sugar. I think that's the fight in that division that will be the most fun to watch. I don't necessarily think he should be next in line, but for some reason, I was quite surprised to see that fight be announced. But yeah, I don't know. I'm happy for Corey because I think he's great, and at the moment, if I'm anyone in that top 10 and I'm looking at Merab, I'm just scratching my head, just going, how do you beat this guy?
So who do you give Merab then? If Corey's not the right fight to make, who should Merab have fought? Because I think this was the right fight to make.
Looking at it, obviously he's beaten Sugar twice, beaten Umar, and obviously Petr Yan was booked. So I guess looking at it, it makes sense. Like, there is no one else. Yeah.
But even if Yan, Yan's
you're
not
not going to give it
booked,
to Figgy, you're not going to give it to Yadong. Like, yeah, I guess. Like, so Corey's coming off of, what was Corey's recent fight? He's got the win over Figgy, hasn't he? And then before that,
it was the loss to Umar.
And before that, a win over Rob Font.
I do think this is a right fight to make because it's a fresh matchup for Merab. Merab has taken out a lot of that division already. So to me, it did make sense. I think Corey does have a few losses on his record, but I think when you put them into perspective, it's not that bad because I'm seeing a lot of people have a mixed reaction to this fight and a mixed reaction to Corey's chances against Merab. A lot of people are saying Corey doesn't have a chance in hell, Merab's too good, Corey's lost all of these fights, therefore, to fighters that Merab has beaten, so therefore Corey will lose against Merab. Maybe that is true. But I think Corey is an incredibly good fighter. He has a very, very well-rounded skill set. And when you look at his losses in context, okay, he lost to Sterling in 2020. Yes, it was over very, very quickly. It took his back. It was 5 years ago. Like, he's improved so much since then. Then he loses a very, very, very close fight to Petr Yan, who we all know, we spoke about on this show, is fantastic. In 2021, he has improved a lot since then. Yes, he lost to TJ Dillashaw in 2021 in a fight that I actually thought he won. I don't think he lost to TJ. I think he beat TJ. So I'm not even going to include that. And then you look at the Umar fight. That's the one where you go, well, that was only a year ago. But when you look back at Umar versus Merab, Umar won the first 2 rounds of that fight. Merab didn't, 50-45 Umar. He lost the first 2 rounds and then came back. It was a great win. So if Sandhagen's most recent loss was, and again, the scorecards would say that Umar beat Corey Sandhagen very, very easily. That was not the case when you watched the fight. Every round was close. It's just every round was just in favour of Umar.
Yeah.
Sandhagen, again, that was a year ago. He can still improve. He's brought new people in. He's got Whitman in his corner now and stuff like that. Ryan Hall. We saw with the Davidson-Figueiredo fight, those 50-50 positions when it ends up on the ground. Sandhagen's not messing around. He knows what he's doing and he's ruthless down there. I think Sandhagen does have a good shot of winning this fight. I'm not saying he's going to be the favourite. I'm not saying that he's definitely going to win. I'm just saying, don't sleep on Corey Sandhagen. Sandhagen is a very well-rounded fighter. Yes, he does have losses, but those were a while ago and he's learned from them. And the most recent loss was in a fight that was close, competitive, way more so than the scorecards would suggest. And also, it was against a guy that then went on and beat Merab for the first 2 rounds of their fight. So I think we can be excited about this fight. And I think we can say this might be the best match that could be made for Merab right now. And I'm way more interested in Sandhagen versus Merab than Yan versus Merab. We've seen that. It did not go well for Yan by any stretch of the imagination. I think a fight between Sandhagen and Merab is way closer than what happened between Petr Yan and Merab a couple of years ago, whatever it is, a year ago.
Okay, I agree. With the fight announcements, was there one more?
That's all I can think of.
Yeah. Oh, I think it was the Lerone one was the only other one that that wasn't announced last week. And I mean, I think it was a massive stack of announcements that I think they really wanted to sort of dazzle everyone. But I've got to be honest, when you break them down, I don't think many of them are like super exciting. I know they've all got straps attached to them, but I don't know. I can't get excited about Tom Gane. I really can't.
Okay. So before we wrap this up, Sandhagen Merab, Khalil Rountree versus Yuri Prochazka, Ankalaev, Pereira 2, Tom versus Gane. What out of those 4 fights are you most excited about?
Halil Yuri.
Yeah, just for the pure carnage in the cage.
It'd just be a fucking great watch.
Yeah. I mean, I think that'd be my number 2. I think I've got to go Merab Sandhagen. I truly believe Sandhagen can do it. And I'll be very sad if he doesn't.
I love Merab, but like Corey's a former guest of the show, so we've got to big him up.
And I just, I'm just a big fan of what he's doing, and I would love to see it. I mean, maybe I'm being silly, maybe I'm being biased, and I'm letting my emotional attachment to Corey, because I do love him, kind of run away with me. But I think that is the fight I'm most excited about. I really, really want to see Sandhagen fight Merab.
Absolutely. All right, well, look, we'll be back next week with another show. What that'll be about, I don't know. Have we got? Is there another big event that week? It's not, is there?
I am not sure, mate. We will have to look into it. But the events upcoming are Tatsuro Taira versus Park. That's August 3rd. And then after that, another guy doing well in the middleweight division a week after. Fluffy Hernandez versus Roman Dolidze. I can't imagine if those 2 are the headliners. Hang on. It's so weird. The main picture of Taira versus Park, I swear, is Amir Albazi on the UFC thing, but then
I thought
changed.
Albazi was fighting.
It says on their website Tatsuro Taira versus Hyosung Park, but I swear the picture is Amir Albazi. That's really weird. Chris Duncan's also fighting on that card. There's not much to write home about, I don't think, about that. Nathan Fletcher's fighting on that card. So like a few things to watch out for British MMA fans, but it's not a great card. Have you got Tapology up? Because I really want to know what's going on with Albazi, Taira, Park. Like, what the hell's going on there?
Let me have a look.
But yeah, so overall, it's not a great card, if we can be perfectly honest. And then Fluffy Hernandez versus Dolidze. If Hernandez wins, I mean, he's throwing his hat into the ring for a title shot. There's Perez Erceg on that card. Angela Hill's on that card. Andre Feely, always a fun fighter to watch. Christian Leroy Duncan. So there's a few British fighters fighting over the next 2 weeks. But again, not loads to be overly excited about. And then it's 319.
It says on here that Tatsuro was due to fight Albazi, but it's been cancelled.
So it looks like maybe they've replaced him with Hyosung Park. So there you go. I thought that was weird. Yeah. Strange. Anyway, that's that. So, if you want to get your UFC fix over the next 2 weeks, go for it. But if you want to just catch a few highlights and
what a flat ending to a podcast.
You can,
if you want, you can, but if you don't,
we probably won't be talking about it too much, if we're honest.
We don't even know what we'll be talking about, but we'll be excited to talk about it when we work out what it's going to be, and we will see you next week for another show. Hit subscribe. Thanks ever so much for your ongoing support. You can watch this show over on YouTube and subscribe to our channel over there, or you can listen to it wherever you're listening to it now.
Bye.